Hi guys, okay, we have November paper 2, 2020, formula sheet and question 1. Okay, so hopefully guys this is a straightforward question. G to the 4 times G to the 6 is G to the 10. We just add the powers, and similarly here we subtract the powers. So this is just K, 10 minus 3 is 7. This one's slightly more difficult. The common mistake people make is forgetting to square the 3. So you have to square the 3, which is 9. You can write 3 squared is 9. You have to square the c, so it's c squared. And you have to square the d to the 4. So d to the 4 squared is actually d to the 8, because you multiply the powers. So it's 9c squared d to the 8. Part D, solve the inequality 4x plus 7 is greater than 2, right? This is fairly straightforward, guys. I can solve it like an equation. So I subtract 7 from both sides. So 2 minus 7 is negative 5. And then I divide by 4. So 4x is greater than x is greater than negative 5 over 4. This is also negative 1.25, but negative 5 over 4 is fine. I'll put negative 1.25. Okay, that's question 1. Question 2. The table shows information about the lengths of time in minutes. 120 customers spend in a supermarket. Write down the modal class, right? The modal class, these are the classes. The modal is the mode, which is the most common. Which class is the most common? Well, it's this one, because it has a frequency of 40, which is the highest number. So this is the answer. Now guys, a common mistake people make is they put down 40, which is wrong. That's the frequency for the modal class, but this is the modal class. B, it says work out an estimate for the mean length of time spent by the customer. So it's an estimate because we don't know how long each of these people took. So what we do is we get the midpoint of the class. So what's halfway between 20 and 30? It's 25. I can join this here. So this is 25. This is halfway between 30 and 40 is 35. 45. 55 and 65. Now it's not always in order like that, guys. Just be careful. It's halfway between this and this. You can add it together and divide by 2. So that's the midpoint. Then we have to do frequency times the midpoint. So I'd like to just do f times m for midpoint. F times m for midpoint. 6 times 25 is 150. Okay, this I need my calculator for. Okay, I have 26 times 35 is 910. 31 times 45. 31 times 45, 1395. 55 times 40, or 40 times 55, is 2,200. 2,200. And 65 times 17 is 1105. 1105. Now all I have to do is add these up, so the mean is equal to the sum of all these, which is 150 plus 910 plus 1395 plus 2200 plus 1105, all divided by the total frequency, which is 120, because there's 120 people. It gives us that at the start, and this will give me the mean. So I will just do this. 150 plus 910 plus 1395 plus 2200 plus 1105 all over 120, and I get 48 exactly, which is the right answer. Okay, 48, I can put it here, 48 minutes. 4 marks. I think everyone can get those 4 marks. Okay, question 3. We have a parallelogram and an isosceles triangle. Work out the size of angle DEF. So we want this angle here. Give a reason for each stage of your working. I'll just check the number of marks, guys. So it's 5 marks. So I'm expecting there to be, not necessarily that it's difficult, but that there's a bit of work to do. Okay, if this is a parallelogram, guys, then opposite angles are equal, and these two angles add up to 180. So this angle here has to be 122, because 122 plus 58 is 180. Okay, now he wants a reason, so I have to write down angle CDA, that's angle CDA, equals 122 degrees. Because angle BCD and angle CDA are, the technical word, guys, co-interior angles. So co-interior angles means if they're parallel, and these are parallel, guys, because it's a parallelogram, these two have to add up to 180. Okay, then this equals 120 degrees because these are just opposite angles. So angle EDF equals 122 because opposite angles are equal. Opposite angles are equal. Then, because it's a parallelogram, or sorry, an isosceles triangle, guys, these two angles, F and E, have to equal each other because it's an isosceles triangle. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to say 180 minus 122 is equal to, well, I know it's 58 degrees, and then 58 divided by 2, because these three angles add up to 180. So these two angles have to add up to 58. So one of them is half of 58 because they're the same. So I divide by 2 and I get 29 degrees. So for this step, because angles in a triangle add to 180, and this step because isosceles, it's hard to spell, isosceles isosceles triangles have two equal angles, and that's it. Okay, that is the correct answer, and here 29. I know, guys, because I've just experienced it, writing out the reasons is quite annoying, but it's worth 5 marks, so obviously do it, especially if you understand it. Okay, question 4. Andreas, Ayla, and Paolo share some money in the ratio 3 to 2 to 5. So Paolo's getting the most, Andreas is getting the second most. The total amount of money that Ayla and Paolo receive, right, be careful, is 76 more than the amount Andreas receives. Okay, so with ratios, guys, it's nice to think of it in terms of parts, right? Andreas is getting 3 parts, Ayla's getting 2 parts, and Paolo's getting 5 parts. How much is a part? I don't actually know. But what I do know is that Paolo's 5 parts, so let's say 1 part equals x. We don't know what it is, so let's just call it x. So Paolo receives 5x. So let's actually write it over here. Paolo, 5x. Isla, 2x. And Andreas gets 3x. Now it says the total amount that Isla and Paolo receive. So that's my 5x plus 2x. So that's the total amount, 5x plus 2x, is 76 more than the amount of Andreas receives. So this is equal to what Andreas receives plus 76. So think about that. To make it equal, I have to add the 76 here because this is more. So to make it equal, I'm going to get this smaller amount and add on 76. Now they're equal. Then I can do 5x plus 2x is 7x minus 3x is 4x. So now I'm just solving an equation. 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 minus 3 is 4. So 4x is 76. And finally, divide by 4. Use your calculator if you want. It's 19. Okay, so each part is 19 pounds. Andreas gets 3x. So Andreas gets 3 times 19, which is 38, 47. He gets 47 pounds. That's what Andreas gets. He then, okay, hang on. That's not right. It's not 47, it's 57. 57 pounds. Use your calculator, guys. He gets 57 pounds. He then buys a video game for this much. Work out how much he has left when he gets back, when he has bought the video game. So he has 57. He spends 48.50. All I need to do is subtract them. So let's do that. I'll do 57 minus 48.5 gives me 17 over 2 or 8.50. So it's 8 pounds 50. So that's how much he has left. 8.50. Okay, question 5. Himari's annual salary is that. She gets a salary increase of this. What's her salary increase after the increase? Okay, this is a percentage increase. The nicest way to do this, guys, the easiest way, is to multiply this salary by 1.04. If you multiply by 0.04, you get 4%. But if you multiply by 1.04, it adds on the 4%. So once you realize that, it's quite easy to do because you have a calculator. 3130000 times 1.04. 3255200. That's 3255200 Japanese yen. Okay, Kaito bought a car. This is a new person. The value of the car when Kaito bought it was 750,000. At the end of each year, the value of his car had depreciated by 15%. Work out the value of his car off after 3 years. Correct to the nearest yen. Okay, so this is now percentage decrease. So instead of multiplying by 1 point something, I'm actually going to subtract 15. So I'm going to do 100 minus 15. 100% minus 15% is 85%. But as a decimal, that's 0.05. But so I'm going to multiply it by 0.85. I'm going to multiply it by 0.85. But I need to multiply by 0.85 again because that's for the second year. And then it's going to get decrease again by 0.85. So the easier way to do it is just do 0.85 to the power of 3. Again, we have a calculator. 750,000 times 0.85 to the power of 3. And this gives us 4605, 93.75, 93.75, but he says to the nearest yen. So for the final mark, you gotta round it, guys. 460,594, because I look at this 7, so I need to round it up. Okay, that is question 5. Question 6. This is it, just 2 marks, guys. This is a nice, easy question. We just need the equation of the line. So we need m, which is the gradient. Now the gradient, guys, is my rise over run. Pick 2 points where it actually hits where the line hits the point. And what is my run? Well, it's 1 for every 3 boxes. So my rise over run is 3 over 1. Hence, my gradient is 3. Now just check that it's to scale, guys, which it is. It's each box is worth 1 on both axes, so that's fine. And then the y-intercept is -2, where it crosses the y-axis. So my equation is just y equals 3x minus 2. Y equals 3x mx plus c 3x minus 2. Question 7. Right angle triangle. Calculate the value of x. Give your answer to 1 decimal place. Right, a straightforward, very straightforward SOHCAHTOA question. It is, well, if you want to write out SOHCAHTOA, I have the opposite, tick, tick. I have the adjacent, tick, tick. Which of these 3 has the 2 ticks? It's TOA. So I'm going to use tan. So I'm going to say tan of x is equal to opposite, which is 3.4. It is opposite the angle, over the adjacent, which is 4.7. And this is here. TOA, opposite over adjacent. And then I don't even have to calculate this. I just do the inverse tan. Inverse tan of this, 3.4 over 4.7, which is inverse tan 3.4 over 4.7 . 35.882, 35.882, 1 decimal place, 35.9, because I have to round this up. So that's 35.9. Question 8. Work out the area of this triangle. It's an isosceles triangle. Okay, so to get the area of a triangle, guys, it's a half. Area is equal to a half base times height. That formula you need to know. It's a half because it's like half of the rectangle. So I just need the base. I have it. It's 8. But what I don't have is the height. So I need to find this height. How do I find the height? Well, this is why this is a somewhat tricky question. You have to recognize that this is a right angle triangle and this length is 4. So you can actually find the height using Pythagoras' theorem. I'll do it over here. H squared plus 4 squared equals 8.5 squared. That's Pythagoras' theorem. This squared plus this squared equals this squared. H squared is equal to 8.5 squared minus 4 squared. And then h is the square root of this because it's squared. So I need to get the square root of 8.5 squared minus 4 squared gives me 15 over 2, which is 7.5. That's quite a nice number, 7.5. Now I know the height. So the area is a half. Base, I have it. the base is 8, so it's a half. By the way, a half base means a half times the base, so it's a half times 8 times the height, which is 7.5. Put this into your calculator, and I can do this, guys, with in my head, because that's 4 times 7.5 is 30. So the area is 30 centimeters squared, which it gives you down there. Okay, question 9. We have a cylinder, radius 3 meters. The volume of the cylinder is this. Calculate the total surface area of the cylinder. Give your answer to 3 significant figures. Okay, so guys, I'll just go back to the formula sheet. The formula sheet says that, well, it gives you the volume of the cylinder, and it gives you the curved surface area of the cylinder. So the curved surface area is just this part. It's like the label of a can. Think of a can of peas or something. That label is the curved surface area, and it's 2 pi over h. If we're going to get the total surface area, we have to add on the circle at the top and the circle at the bottom. So note we have those formulae. Okay. He says the total surface area, we want to calculate the total surface area. So the total surface area, I will call TSA, is equal to the curved surface area plus 2 circles, which is 2 times pi r squared, because the area of a circle is pi r squared. So it's 2 circles, 2 pi r squared. Okay, now how do I get the curved surface area? Well, the curved surface area is equal to, I told you there was a formula there, it's 2 pi r h. But I don't have h. That's my problem. I need to find h. And how am I going to find h? Well, I'm going to use this other bit of information that he gave me. So he says the volume is this. Now, okay, I'll do it down here. The volume is pi r squared h. That's the formula for the volume of a cylinder. And he says this equals 72 pi. Now, I know the radius is 3. And by the way, I can divide both sides by pi. So those two disappear nicely. And I know r is 3. So it's 3 squared h equals 72. 9h equals 72. And very nicely, h is equal to 72 divided by 9, which is 8. So now I do have the height, it's h. So now I can calculate the curved surface area. It's 2 times pi times radius, which is 3, times h, which is 8. This is equal to, I'm just going to leave this in terms of pi. It's 2 times 3 is 6, times 8 is 48. So it's just 48 pi. Okay, now I'm going to put this into this. The total surface area is 48 pi plus 2 times pi times radius squared, which is 3 squared, which is actually 48 pi plus 9 times 2 is 18 pi. And at this point, certainly you can use your calculator. Even here, you could have used your calculator. But just to note, this is 66 pi. So sometimes they say leave your answer in terms of pi, and that would be the answer. But he actually doesn't want that. He wants 3 significant figures. So I'm going to give him the answer he wants, which is 66 times pi. Pi is down here, the pi button, equals that, but we want to press this to get a decimal, and it's 207.345. 207.345. And he wants 3 significant figures, which is actually 207. So the answer is 207 meters squared. Okay. Question 10. The table gives us information about the number of minutes each of 120 buses was late last Monday. Complete the cumulative table cumulative frequency table. This is a fairly nice and easy question, guys, although you only get 1 mark for it. We just add them up as we go along. I accumulate, hence the word cumulative frequency. So 10 plus 16 is 26, plus 44 is 70, plus 29 is 99, plus 15 is 114, plus 6 is 120. Okay, now he's asking me to draw the cumulative frequency graph. Okay, let me zoom out. I have to plot it, guys, at the end of the classes and this. So 10, 10. So I'm going to put 1 point at 10, 10. Be careful. They are on different scales. So that's 10, 10. Next one, 20, 26. 20, 22, 24, 26. There. Okay, I might actually zoom in, guys, because I have to scroll up anyway. It says 20, 26. Okay. Next one, 30, 70. 30, 70. 40, 99. 40, 99 would be in between these two. Try and be as accurate as possible. 50, 114. 50, 114. There. And 60, 120. 60, 120. Okay, I have to start from 0, guys, because here he starts from 0 at that point. So we start from 0, 0, and we essentially join these dots using as nice a curve as possible. Now, guys, I often complain that the pen I use is actually quite difficult to do this with, and I've missed that point there, so I'm actually going to do it again. That's not good enough, but definitely you guys can do it better than me on a pen and paper. Missed it again. Okay, I'll just see what happens. So use your graph to find an estimate for the interquartile range. Now once I have the graph, I get my 2 quartiles. So there's 120 people. A quarter of 120 is 30. So I go to 30 here, go across, and go down. That looks like something around 23. So that would be 23 for Q1. And then I go to 3/4 of 120, which would be 90. Go to 90. Then go down. This is 32, 4, 6. That's sorry. No, I realize I've made a mistake. These are going in ones. So let me just erase this. That is 21, 22. Let's just say 22 for now. And this guy is 36. So 36 minus 22 should give me the interquartile range. Now, guys, that's not the answer they're giving. 36 minus, okay, so I do 36 minus 22, which is 14. So I'm assuming I have, I'm assuming because my graph is not perfect, I've got it wrong. But the answer I have is 16. They probably give a range of values that is acceptable. Anyway, that's how you do it. Make sure you do it more accurately than me. Part D. Use your graph to find an estimate for the number of buses that were more than 48 minutes late, right? So now I go to 48, 45, 46, 47, 48 here. And I'm going to go up to this, and across to this. And this number here is, if that's 110, this is 112 or 111. And this one actually is pretty accurate, guys, because the answer is 9. So 120, I have to minus this because how many did more than 48? So I do 120 minus 111 is 9. Okay, that is question 10. Question 11. Simplify fully this, right? So guys, you can do 8 to the 2/3 on your calculator. It is, well, it's 4. Let me just make sure you know how to do it on your calculator. 8 to the power of, and then you can do that. So it's just 2/3, which is 4. So this is 4. And then e to the 15 to the power of 2/3 is equal to, I just multiply the powers. So e to the power of 15 times 2/3 is 10. So my final answer is just 4e to the 10. Okay, part B. Express this in the form a y to the n, where a and n are integers. Okay, so the negative power, guys, is, the way I deal with the negative power is I flip it, so y/2 to the -4. If I want to make this a positive power, I can flip this upside down and say it's 2/y. Get the reciprocal, it's 2/y to the power of 4. That's what a negative power is. That's the definition of a negative power. It's a reciprocal. So 2/y to the power of 4. Now this equals 2 to the power of 4, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which is 16. You can use your calculator, over y to the 4. But he wants it written like this: ay to the power of n. So this is actually equal to 16y to the power of -4, because the same reason I may put y underneath the line and made it a positive 4, I can now bring y back above the line and make it a -4. Okay, so that is part B, 16y to the power of -4. Part C, solve this, show clear algebraic working. Okay, so guys, your calculator can solve this quite cleverly without showing it working. Some calculators can, at least. You have to show the working, and it's very clear. It says show clear algebraic working. Okay, there's a few different ways to do this. You could get a common denominator and work it out like that. My favorite way to do it is, because when I see a denominator that I don't like, if I just multiply across by that denominator, it will remove the denominator. So I'm going to multiply everything by 3. But I also want to multiply everything by 4. That will remove that denominator. So instead of doing 2 steps, I'm going to do 1 step. I'm going to multiply everything by 12. So it's 12 times this minus 12 times this. So remember, you're multiplying both sides by 12. So you have to multiply everything by 12, equals 12 times 6. Okay, now the reason this is useful is because, look, I can cancel. 3 into 12 goes 4 times. So this is just 4 times 4x minus 2. And 4 into 12 goes 3 times. So this is minus 3 times 5 minus 3x. And then 12 times 6 is 72. Use your calculator. Multiply with the brackets. 16x minus 8 minus 15 plus 9x equals 72. Get my x's on one side, so I have my 16x and my 9x here, that's fine. And then I'm going to add 15, this 15 here, add it to both sides, and I'm going to add the 8 as well. 16 plus 9 is 25, so that's 25x. 72 plus 8 is 80. 80 plus 15 is 95. So 25x is 95. X is 95 divided by 25. What is 95 divided by 25? Let's find out. 19 over 5 or 3.8. Okay, let's put 3.8. Okay, question 12. Given that this, find the value of x, show clear algebra of working. Okay, again, you have to show your working and your understanding. Okay, there's a number of different ways to do this, but my preferred is when I see 3 and a 9 and an 81, I'm thinking, what is the best base to use? And the one I choose is 3, because I can put all of these with 3 as a base. Now what I mean by that is 3 to the power of x already has 3 as a base, so we leave it as 3 to the power of x. 9 is 3 squared. I think we all know that. 9 is equal to 3 squared. So instead of 9, I put 3 squared. Now it's 9 to the power of 3x, so this is 9 to the power of 3x. I haven't changed anything except I've made 9 3 squared. Similarly, 81 is equal to 3 to the power of 4. Now, if you didn't know that, fair enough. Well, one way to think of it is 9 times 9 is 81. 3 squared times 3 squared is 3 to the 4. Or you could literally just go 3 times 3. And 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. So you had to times 3 4 times. So this is equal to 3 to the power of 4. Okay, that's the first step, arguably the hardest step, but definitely we're not done. Leave my 3 to the power of x. Now I'm going to simplify this. A power raised to another power, I multiply the power. So this is 3 to the power of 6x equals 3 to the power of 4. Then, when I divide, I subtract the powers. So this is 3 to the power of x minus 6x is minus 5x, because 1 minus 6 is minus 5, so x minus 6x is minus 5x, equals 3 to the 4. Then, and this is the whole point of making everything in terms of 3, I can just equate the powers, because if 3 to the power of this equals 3 to the power of that, this minus 5x has to equal 4. And if minus 5x equals 4, x is equal to 4 over minus 5, or negative 0.8. Okay, done. Question 12. Question 13. Use algebra to show that this equals this. 2 marks only. Okay, so guys, these ones are, there's a set way to do them. They're not easy, but you can learn the method and it's always the same. So I'm gonna let x equal, and I write out the decimal, 0.6818181 ... forever, because it's the 8 and the 1 that are repeating. Then I say 10x is equal to, and I multiply this by 10. 6.818181 ... I'm going to keep doing this. I'm going to keep multiplying by 10 until I get decimals. The decimal places are the same. Here they are not. I have 68181. Here I have 8181. Not the same. So I'm going to multiply by 10 again. And I get 100x gives me 68.181818, right? I still don't have a situation where the decimals are the same. So I go again. 681.818181 ... Now note this one, this one and this one have the same decimal points. 818181, 818181. So what I can do is I subtract them. I say 1000x minus 10x. So 1000 minus 10 is 990. 990x. I'm doing this one minus this one. And the reason is because this will get, when I subtract 681.818181, etc., minus 6.818181, the decimals will disappear, and I'll just be left with 675. 681 minus 6 is 675. Then I can say x is equal to 675 over 990. And then I can actually use my calculator at this point. 675 over 990 hopefully should give me 15 over 22. And it does. This equals 15 over 22. And that's it. Okay, question 14. Okay, we're given the universal set and A and B. And it says write down the number of elements in A. Okay, so A is an x, and x are integers, less than 18. So it's less than 18, but it has to be bigger or equal to 10, because this is the universal set. So what I'm going to do first, guys, is draw a Venn diagram to kind of help us get our head around this. So let's draw it. Let me just draw it here. Okay, and don't forget there is a universal set here. So this is A and this is B. So A, it's integers from 10 to 25. Now A is less than 18 and B is greater or equal to 13, right? So what goes in the middle has to be 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. That is because A is less than 18, so we can't have any more numbers in A greater than 17, and B is greater or equal to 13, so I can't put any numbers less than 13 in B. So what I can do is continue A. So A here will have 12, it'll have 11, and it'll have 10. It can be 10. And B in this part will have 18, 19, 20, and 21. It won't have 22 because it has to be less than 22. The same way A doesn't have 18. So then what's left is all the numbers up to 25. So my 22, 23, 24, and 25. So that's the Venn diagram. Once you've that drawn, these questions are a lot easier. So the NA is the number of elements in A. So each of these is an element. These aren't a number of elements. So just, it's not 11 plus 12 plus 10. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 elements in A. Okay, then list the members of the set A union B not. So it's the complement of A union B. So A union B are all these numbers, but he says list the elements that are not in this. So it's these ones: 22, 23, 24, 25, 22, 23, 24, 25. Now you don't have to draw the Venn diagram, guys, but it helps. Okay, what's not in A and also in B? Well, what's not in A and also in B? Well, it's this situation. It's this place here. This is not in A and in B. list the members. Well, it's just this 18, 19, and 20. And 21, sorry. 18, 19, 20, and 21. Okay, finally, C is a subset of A. C is also a subset of B. And the number of elements in C is 5. List the members of C. Okay, so this is a confusing way of writing a fairly straightforward question. So C is a subset. It's a subset of A means it's a number of these, but it's also a subset of B. So that means it has to be some of these numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, some of these numbers. And it says the number of elements in C is 5. So it actually is all these numbers. It's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, because there's only 5 numbers there. So it's going to be 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, question 15. Make x the subject, right? These ones are slightly tricky. We have to multiply across by x plus 3 first. So I get y times x plus 3 equals 5 minus 2x. So I've just multiplied across. Then I need to multiply out. So I get yx plus 3y equals 5 minus 2x. Then because I'm making x the subject, I'm going to get all the x's on the left. So I'm going to get my yx plus 2x gives me 5 minus 3y. Then, and this is arguably the tricky bit, I factorize out x. So I take out the x because I need to get x on its own. So the only way to get it on its own is to factorize it. 5 minus 3y, and then I'm going to divide by this y plus 2. So x equals 5 minus 3y divided by y plus 2. Okay, that's it. Question 15. Question 16. Solve the equations simultaneously, simultaneous equations. So I have a linear equation and a non-linear one. The best thing to do is get the non-linear one and put it into the linear one. So how can I do that? Well, I'm going to make x the subject for this one. So x is equal to 1 plus 2y. So I add the 2y. Then instead of x, I'm going to put in 1 plus 2y. That means instead of this x here, I'm going to put 1 plus 2y. Okay, so I have 3 times x, but instead of x, I'm going to put 1 plus 2y. That's my 3x. And then there's another y. So look, 3xy minus y squared equals 8. Multiply this out. So I get 3, well, you can think of it like 3y times 1 is 3y, and 3y times 2y is plus 6y squared. 6y squared minus y squared equals 8. Make everything equal to 0. 6y squared minus y squared is 5y squared. 5y squared plus 3y minus 8 equal 0. Okay, now I have to factorize this. Guys, use your calculator to help if you need it. I'm just going to try it like this. 5y and y. 8 will go here. 1 will go here. So 5y and 5y gives me 5y squared. 8 and 1 gives me my 8. And I need a plus 8 and a minus 1 because that will give me plus 3y when I multiply across. So I get 5y plus 8 times y minus 1 equals 0. Guys, at that point, if you're confused, use your calculator to get the solutions and work back to get the factors. Okay, now I'm not nearly done. I have to get my y's. So 5y plus 8 equals 0. Y minus 1 equals 0. 5y equals negative 8. Y equals negative 8 over 5. And y equals 1. Okay, now I have my two y's. Great, but I have to get my two x's. So remember, x equals 1 plus 2y. So for y equals, let's do 1 first, because that's the easier one. For y equals 1, x equals 1 plus 2 times 1, which is 2, which is 3. So 1 and 3. And then for y equals negative 8 over 3, x equals 1 plus 2 times negative 8 over 3. I sub this into here, which is 1 minus, this is 1 minus 16. 1 minus 16 over 3. Sorry, it's 5. What am I doing? Y equals minus 8 over 5. Okay. X equals 1 plus 2 times minus 8 over 5, which is 1 minus 16 over 5. Use your calculator, guys, at any point here if you're stuck. 1 minus 16 over 5 is minus 11 over 5. So I have two solutions. I have my x equals minus 11 over 5, y equals minus 8 over 5. And yeah, sorry, that's correct. And my other set of solutions is x equals 3 and y equals 1. X equals 3, y equals 1. Just to be clear, the reason I'm putting these in a box is because they go together. That's a solution and that's a solution. Okay, that's question 16. Question 17. Okay, we have a rectangle. It says the area of the rectangle is a centimeter squared, and it says a, we are given that a has to be less than 3x plus 27. Find the range of possible values of x. Okay, firstly, let's get the area. The area of the rectangle is 2x minus 4 times 3x plus 2. Now we're going to multiply this out because I can see that I'm going to need to multiply it out. 2x times 3x is 6x squared. 2x times 2 is plus 4x. Minus 4 times 3x is minus 12x. Minus 4 times 2 is minus 8. Equals 6x squared minus 8x minus 8. Okay, this is the area. He then says this area, 6x squared minus 8x minus 8, has to be less than 3x plus 27. Okay, then I'm going to make everything less than 0. So this is 6x squared minus 11x, because 8 minus 8x minus 3x is minus 11x, and minus 8 minus 27 is minus 35. This has to be less than 0. Okay, now the question has turned into a quadratic inequality question. So the first thing I do with a quadratic inequality, guys, is go to your calculator and you can actually get the answer. Now you will need to show some working, but let's get the answer first. So I do degree 2. I do the second one because I want less than 0. I then do 6, negative 11, negative 35. Those are my numbers. And I get x is greater than negative 5 over 3. X is greater than negative 5 over 3. And x is less than 7 over 2. Okay, now I'm just going to leave that there. That's not the final answer, but let's just leave that there for the time being. To get that, you have to, guys, solve this quadratic, or you need to factorize it. Okay, so that's the working you need to show. Now you can kind of work backwards from these solutions if you want. For example, you say x equals minus 5 over 3, 3x equals 5, 3x minus 5 equals 0. That is the factor, 3x minus 5. And similarly here, if I said x is 7 over 2x, I'd have 2x minus 7 is the other factor. 2x, sorry, that was wrong. That should have been minus 5, and then that's plus 5. So this is plus 5, and this one would be 2x minus 7. So by factorizing it, that's the working required to show this, but your calculator gives you the answer. Okay, now, although, guys, the best way is just to know how to factorize. 3x and 2x gives me the 6x squared, 5 and negative 7 gives me the negative 35, and 3x times minus 7 plus 5 times 2x gives me the minus 11. Okay, anyway, once I've got to here, the reason I say this isn't the final answer, because, and this is a bit sneaky of them to give you this part of the question, because one of the lengths is 2x, I'm going to write here, but 2x minus 4, because I have this minus number here, 2x minus 4 has to be bigger than 0. If 2x minus 4 is bigger than 0, 2x has to be bigger than 4, and x has to be bigger than 2. So now this thing gets updated. Instead of x being between this and this, x has to now be bigger than 2 and less than 7 over 2. Hence, I'm going to write x bigger than 2 and less than 7 over 2. So I'm going to keep this 7 over 2, but this doesn't matter anymore because x has to be bigger than 2. Hence, this is the answer. Greater than 2, less than 7 over 2. Next question, question 18. Cuboid. We are given A, B, and AH. The size of the angle between CH and the plane is 35 degrees. Okay, let's draw that. CH and the plane. That means that angle there. This angle here is 35 degrees. 35 degrees. Okay, now I'm actually going to draw this blue triangle. I'm going to draw it again. I'm going to draw it in 2D, and I'm going to draw it as a right angled triangle, because it is a right angled triangle, because this is in 3 dimensions. This angle here is a right angle. So this angle here is a right angle. This is A, H, C, and this is 5, and this is 4, and this is 35. 35. Okay. Calculate the volume of the cuboid. Okay, so I hadn't even read the question, guys, but I assumed this is going to be useful. So what I'm going to do is, actually, yeah, sorry, I've done something silly. This isn't 5. It's this length here. This length I don't actually know, but I'm going to find it using trigonometry. So let's call this x, and that means this is x. Okay, so using trigonometry, I'm going to use tan. I'm going to say the tan of 35 degrees equals opposite 4 over adjacent x. And now I can multiply across by x tan 35 equals 4, and then I'm going to divide by tan 35. X is 4 divided by tan 35. So on my calculator, I'll do, let's go home please. I'm going to do 4 over tan 35. Forgot to put in a bracket. Let's try again. 4 over tan 35, close bracket, 5.713. 5.713. Okay, so this is 5.713. But that's not what I want. To get the volume, I need the length, the height, and this here. Let's call it the width, and let's call it y. So I need y, and I'm going to now use this triangle here to get y. So I'm going to draw a red triangle like this. Again, even though it doesn't look like a right angle triangle, it is a right angle triangle because that's a right angle here. That's a right angle. Okay, this is y. So this is B, A, B, C, A, B, C. This is y. This is 5. And this is x. And I know x, it's 5.713. How am I going to get y? Yes, you guessed it, Pythagoras' theorem, because this is a right angle. So I'm going to say y squared plus 5 squared equals 5.713 squared. Yes, guys, I know this is a hard question. Y squared equals 5.713 squared minus 5 squared, and then y is the square root of this 5.713 squared minus 5 squared, which equals square root 5.713 squared minus 5 squared. 2.7638. 2.7638. Now that's y. The width 2.7638. 2.7638. Now how do I get the volume, guys? The volume equals this 5 times width 2.7638 times height 4. So the goal from the start was actually to get this length, because at my length times width times height, I can get the volume. And this, using our calculator, is 5 times 2.7638 times 4 gives me 55.276. 55.276. This bit, guys, I just did it there so you could see it, but let's put it down here. That is the volume. He wants it to 3 significant figures. Note, guys, why I didn't round this to 3 significant figures. I'll round at the end. I rounded this to more than that. 55.3. 1, 2, 3 significant figures. Look to the right at 7. Goes up to 55.3. Okay, question 19. OAB is a triangle. OA is A, OB is B. The point C lies on OA such that OC to CA is 1 to 2. The point D lies on OB such that OD to DB is 1 to 2. Using a vector method, prove that ABCD is a trapezium. Okay, right, first let's do OA. So this is O, and this is A. O to A is A, little a. And it says point C lies on OA such that OC to CA is 1 to 2. So let's put C about there. Okay, OB is somewhere down here. And it says D lies on OB, so this is B, such that OD to DB is 1 to 2. So this, something like that, is D. And he says, using a vector method, prove that ABDC, so ABDC is a trapezium. If it's a trapezium, we know what the definition for trapezium is, guys, that CD and AB are parallel. Definitely OA, like these two are not going to be parallel. So we need to show that those two are parallel. And now we have a trapezium if they are. Okay, so I'm going to write that down just so we're clear on what we're doing. Need to show CD, vector CD, and vector AB are parallel. Okay, now OA is A, so that means the O to C is 1 over 3A. So this is 1 over 3A, and this is 2 over 3A. How did I get that? Well, if it's in the ratio 1 to 2, that means if you add 1 and 2, you get 3. So one of the 3 parts, a third, A, is this bit, and this is 2/3 A. Similarly, this is 1/3 B, and this is 2/3 B. Okay, now to show they're parallel, I just need to show that they're multiples of each other. So let's do that. CD is equal to minus 1/3 A minus 1/3 A plus 1/3 B, because I go down this way. Let me try that again. I go down this way and over that way. Minus against the arrow, minus 1/3 A plus 1/3 B. Then I'm going to say AB is equal to, well, to get from A to B, I'm just going to go minus A, plus B, because all of this is A, so minus A plus all of this is B, minus A plus B. Okay, and this actually works out quite nicely, because I can say CD is equal to 1/3 times A plus B. Look, if I take out the third, I get, minus A plus B. 1/3 times minus A plus B. Therefore, CD is equal to 1/3 A B. Therefore, CD and AB are parallel. Therefore, ABDC is a trapezium. Because if two sides are parallel in a quadrilateral, which we have here, a 4-sided shape, then it is a trapezium. So that's the proof done. Okay, question 20. Okay, a bag contains X counters. There are only red and blue counters in the bag, and there are 4 more blue counters than red counters in the bag. Okay, first let's stop there. So I'm gonna let B be the number of blue counters and R be the number of red counters. So B plus R is equal to X, because there's X counters in the bag, the number of blues plus the number of reds. Okay, then they've given me this piece of information as well. There are 4 more blue counters than red counters. So that means B is equal to R plus 4, because there's more blue, so I have to add 4 to the red to make an equation. Now, I am going to, instead of, okay, well, the question now says he's going to take, well, it gives me the probability that he takes 2 blue counters. So I actually want to write X in terms of B only. So look, I can change the subject to or here. It's B minus 4. So if I subtract the 4. So now, instead of or for red, I'm going to put B minus 4. So B plus, instead of or, I'm going to put B minus 4. B plus B minus 4 is equal to X, or 2B minus 4 equals X. Okay, so that means in the bag, there are 2B minus 4 counters. Okay, now you could draw a tree here, guys, a tree diagram. And I can do this and this, blue and red, and this is blue and red, and this is blue and red. But the only thing I care about is the blue, because he tells me the probability it takes 2 blue is 3 out of 8. Okay, now, on this branch, I am going to put, what's the probability he takes a blue? Well, there's 1 blue in the bag. Sorry, that's not true. There's B blue in the bag, because that's what we said B is. And there's 2B minus 4 in total in the bag. So it's B out of the total. Then, this bit you might be familiar with, when you take one already, because he's taking 2 counters, so this one's now gone. So now there's only B minus 1 counters left, or blue counters left, and 2B minus 5 counters in total, because I subtract 1 from the denominator, because there's 1 gone from the total. Okay, now, this is obviously, guys, a super hard question, FYI. So, once I get my head around this, let's put this over here, I can say that this blue and blue, this times this, has to equal this. Because he says the probability of taking a blue and a blue, 2 blues, is 3 out of 8. So B over 2B minus 4 times B minus 1 over 2B minus 5. Hang on. B minus 1 over 2B minus 5 equals 3 over 8. Okay, now at this point it's just, well, it's a very difficult quadratic equation that I need to solve. Once I get B, I have to sub it back in here to get X, because it says find X. Okay, now, how do I solve this fairly difficult quadratic equation? So, this is a fraction, so I can do the top times the top. So I'm going to do B squared minus B, this times this. Well, actually, hang on, let's do it a different way. I'm going to cross multiply, so I'm going to do 8 times this. So 8b times b minus 1. That's the 8 times the numerator here. Equals 3 times the denominator here, which is both of these. 2b minus 4 times 2b minus 5. Okay, multiply this out. 8b squared minus 8b equals 3 times, I'm going to do this separately, guys, 2b times 2b, 4b squared. 2b times minus 5 is minus 10b. Minus 4 times 2b is minus 8b. Minus 4 times minus 5 is plus. Minus times minus is plus 20. 8b squared minus 8b equals, multiply out by 3, 12b squared. Let's just do it like this, minus 30b minus 24b plus 60. Okay, I'm going to leave everything on the right just because the 12b squared is positive here. So it's 12b squared minus 54b plus 60. So I just added these two, and now I'm going to subtract 8b squared, and I'm going to add 8b. So 12b squared minus 8b squared is 4b squared. Minus 54b plus 8b would actually be minus 46b, yeah, plus 60. And this, sorry, I should have said this equals 0, equals 0. Now I'm going to divide by 2, just to make it more simple. So this is 2b squared minus 23b plus 30. Okay, now, yeah, I think I can factorize this, guys. It's going to be 2b. So just at the side here, I'm going to do 2b and b. The factors of 30 are 10 and 3. Now, I know it's going to be 10 and 3 because this will give me 23. And they both have to be minus because they both have to be the same. And this is minus, they both have to be minus. So the factors, again, use your calculator if you need help, or do this however you want. But the factors are 2b minus 3, comma, b minus 10. One of these has to equal 0. So I can say 2b minus 3 equals 0, or b minus 10 equals 0. Now remember, guys, this one would be b is 3 over 2, and this one would be b equals 10. Remember, however, b is the number of blue counters. Can b be 3 over 2? Can you have 3 over 2 or 1.5 counters? No, that doesn't make any sense. Therefore, I'm going to say, therefore, b equals 10. Now that's not my final answer, because remember we said my final answer has to be x equals 2b minus 4, 2b minus 4, which is 2 times 10 minus 4, which is 20 minus 4, which is 16. So the final answer for question 20 is 16. Yes, I know, that is not an easy question at all. Okay, last question, I believe. Yes, last question. And it is worth 7 marks, and no doubt this is difficult. The function f is this, express in this form. So this is completing the square. Now guys, the nicest way to complete the square in the IGCSE, in my opinion, is definitely using your calculator. So if you go menu and you go down to equation here, you do 2 for polynomial, degree 2, and you type in, be careful because it's backwards, it's minus 1, 6, and 5, because it's minus 1x squared plus 6x plus 5. They give you the x coordinate, the 2 x-intercepts, and then they give you the x coordinate and the y coordinate of the maximum. Okay, now what that means is they've given you, if this is the quadratic, it's a negative parabola, so it looks something like that. That's better. And they've given you essentially this coordinate, and it is 3, 14. So this is 3, 14. Once you have this coordinate, you can go straight to, and I'm not going to get too much into why this is the case, but it's to do with the maximum possible value that this thing can be. I can say that 5 plus 6x minus x squared is equal to 14. The p is 14. It's the maximum that this can be. And it happens when x is 3, because my 3 minus 3 will give me 0. So the q has to be 3. Okay, again, I won't go into too much detail about how to do this, but or why that is the case, because your teacher can explain it to you in more detail if you want. But once you find that coordinate, the 3, 14, this is the 14, and inside the bracket it is negative whatever this is, so just be careful that that's the opposite sign. But that's the answer and is worth 2 marks. Okay, final question, guys, and I'll warn you, this is not easy. It says use your answer to A to find the range of values for which the inverse is positive, right? So the first thing we're going to do is find the inverse function. I'm going to say let y equal 14 minus x minus 3 squared. Then I'm going to swap x and y. When we're getting the inverse function, that's what we do, because that's what the inverse function is. We're swapping the domain for the range. So x is equal to 14 minus y minus 3 squared. And now I'm going to rearrange to find y. I think I'll just add this to this side. So I'm going to have y minus 3 squared equals, and I'm going to subtract the x, 14 minus x. Then I'm going to get the square root, 14 minus x, and then I'm going to say y is equal to 3 plus or minus the square root of 14 minus x. So the inverse function is, okay, now this bit is manageable for everyone, I think, if you've got that, if you've got part A. But the final part here, which is probably only worth 2 marks, is quite confusing. So the inverse function, because we need to decide now, is it 3 plus this or 3 minus this? But it says here that the function f has a domain x is less than or equal to 3. That means that f minus 1 of x has a range, so range of f minus 1 of x. The range is the same as the domain. So we need to remember that. The range of the inverse function is the same as the domain of the function. So if the domain of this is x is less than or equal to 3, then the range of this is y is less than or equal to 3. Now if y is less than or equal to 3, this thing has to be 3 minus root 14 minus x, because if I plussed it, it would be bigger than 3, which is not allowed. Okay, so that's the first confusing thing, but we're not done. That's the inverse function. We have to find the range of values of x for which f minus 1 of x is positive. So this thing has to be bigger than 0. So 3 minus root 14 minus x has to be bigger than 0. Now when I solve inequalities, guys, I like to just leave the inequality the same direction and just add and subtract things. So I'm going to add, let me move this over a little bit. I'm going to add, I'm just going to draw a line down here. Let's do this. Okay, I'm going to add this to the other side. So it's root 14 minus x. Okay, because I'm adding this. Then I square both sides. 9 is greater than 14 minus x. Add the x over here. and subtract the 9 over here, 14 minus 9, x has to be bigger than 5. So that's the first thing. X has to be bigger than 5. But I also have the condition that this whole thing has to be less than or equal to 3, because we said this thing has to be less than or equal to 3. So another little condition, I'm going to say 3 minus root 14 minus x has to be less than or equal to 3 because of what I said here. Same kind of thing, I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to add this to the left. 14 minus x is greater or equal to 3 minus 3 is 0. Square both sides. 0 is less than or equal to 14 minus x. Add the x over here. X is less than or equal to 14. Therefore, the range of values of x, therefore, x has to be bigger than 5 without the equal sign and less than or equal to 14 with the equal sign. So yeah, as I said, guys, this last bit is very confusing, and it requires a very good knowledge of domain and range, functions and inverse functions. Don't worry too much if you can't do it. It's only it's only 2 marks at the end. If you can do this bit, you've got a lot of the marks, and I argue that every student can do this one if you have the calculator. Okay, that's it, guys. A few very challenging questions at the end, but overall not too bad a paper. And I'll see you for the next one.